Did you know that upwards of 70% of brilliant boardroom-approved corporate strategies just entirely fail?
Yeah, it's a staggering number.
Right. And it's not because the math was wrong or, the market shifted unexpectedly. They fail because of this severed connection between the brain of the organization and the muscle.
Exactly. The executives set the vision, the frontline workers are ready to move, but the signal just gets lost somewhere in between.
It's the execution gap. So, welcome to this deep dive. If you're listening today, we want you to consider yourself the third person in this room with us.
A very important third person.
Absolutely. We are speaking directly to you as a board director, a CEO, or a senior executive who has, well, probably felt the frustration of that exact gap.
You're looking for a sophisticated end-to-end organizational solution, not just another theory.
Which is why our mission today is to unpack a fascinating case study in closing that gap. We're looking at the methodology of a group called the Summit Leadership Alliance, or TSLA.
And their approach is really elite. They use an expert network model. But their core hook, their whole philosophy, is summarized as human first, AI empowered.
I love that framing because they don't just, deliver a plan and walk away.
No, not at all. They operate as allies. They actually co-create these personalized success plans that align with real work. They don't leave you hanging.
So let's get into it. When you look at their materials, they divide this transformation into four distinct phases. Phase one is strategic architecture.
Which makes sense. I mean, you cannot activate leaders or teams if the strategic foundation is ambiguous.
Right, but they don't start by just locking executives in a room with a whiteboard for a weekend. It's a 4 to 12-week journey, and it actually starts with 10 to 15 highly confidential stakeholder interviews.
Which is such a critical mechanism. Because think about the psychology of a typical boardroom. There's this enormous pressure to achieve consensus.
Oh yeah, everyone just nods and defers to the CEO.
Exactly. But consensus in a meeting does not equal alignment in reality. By doing these interviews confidentially, TSLA finds those hidden areas of divergence before they turn into major roadblocks.
And once they synthesize all those realities, they bring the leadership team together for what they call the Strategic Choices Cascade Workshop.
Right. It's a forcing function. They have to define their winning aspiration, where to play, how to win, core capabilities, and the management systems to govern it all.
But here's where I usually get skeptical, because I've seen frameworks like that, and they usually result in a beautifully bound, dusty book on a shelf.
The expensive deck that nobody reads.
Yes, but TSLA avoids that trap entirely. They translate that strategy into a balanced scorecard. So financial, customer process, and learning and growth. And then they do something wild.
They tie executive performance directly to it.
Yes, they tie executive performance and rewards directly to that balanced scorecard before they even seek board approval.
And for the executive listening, think about why that matters. When your incentives are perfectly aligned with strategic outcomes, taking it to the board isn't just a rubber stamp anymore.
It's a fully funded mandate for execution.
Exactly. The board knows you're financially on the hook to make it work.
Okay, so the board gives the green light. The brain has made the decision. Now we hit the most dangerous part of any enterprise, which brings us to phase two, activation and alignment.
Moving from the boardroom to the front line.
Right, through what we usually call the frozen middle.
And the frozen middle is where most strategies just go to die.
Yeah.
Because middle managers are already overwhelmed with their daily whirlwind, right?
Yeah, they don't have time for a new binder of corporate goals.
Exactly. So to thaw that middle, TSLA uses the ALA experience, applied leadership acceleration for individual leaders.
Break that down a bit. What does that actually look like?
Well, it includes 360-degree interviews to get full context, then 12 progressive modules. But it covers their specific mandate, capabilities, and really importantly, their time balance.
They also use something called business chemistry profiling here. And, I have to ask.
Is it just another personality test?
Yeah. Like, do I just find out I'm a yellow or an INTJ and everyone claps?
No, it's not about your childhood. Business chemistry maps how you operate in a meeting. Do you need data or do you need a high-level narrative? It helps the leader communicate the strategy without friction.
Okay, that actually sounds practical. And all of this culminates in a 180-day success action plan.
Yes, a highly personalized plan tied directly to the phase one strategy. Accountability becomes their daily operational reality.
But a leader doesn't execute alone. So that brings us to the teams, which is the SATE experience, strategy alignment and team activation.
Right, for the leader and their direct reports.
Now, I'm going to push back here. The materials say this is a 4-hour workshop. I've been in so many consultancies' leadership workshops.
The offsites.
The offsites with the sticky notes and the trust falls. By Monday, everyone forgets it. How does TSLA ensure this doesn't devolve into just a feel-good session?
Because it is distinctly mandate-driven. There are no trust falls. It's about priority cascading, establishing leadership principles, and making hard RESEI assignments.
Or ACI, so responsible, accountable, consulted, informed.
Exactly. Drawing clear lines of accountability. And they also use a tool called Poll Everywhere to ensure psychological safety.
Oh, wait. Anonymous polling. Does an app really create safety? I feel like people always think IT is tracking them.
Well, the app is just the tool. The safety comes from the facilitator using the data. If the boss asks, "Are we ready?" and everyone nods, the poll might reveal 50% think it'll fail.
Oh, wow.
Right, forces the elephant into the room. Junior members can raise execution gaps without fear. And then the full leadership team regroups for an executive debrief to look at those exact gaps.
So you've got your strategy, your teams are aligned, but there is a massive technological shift happening that can ruin all of this if you ignore it.
The age of automation.
Exactly.
Wow.
Phase 3, the AI imperative, AI and automation advisory.
Because organizations are rushing to use AI, but doing it without governance.
Which is like dropping a Formula One engine into a commercial airliner without upgrading the cockpit controls. It's just dangerous.
That's a great analogy. You need a way to govern that power. So TSLA brings in the MAIE framework, the Maximally Automated Intelligent Enterprise.
And that's a maturity assessment across 6 domains, right? Strategy, governance, applications, infrastructure, data, and AI. And this is the interesting one, people and culture.
Yes, they build a practical enterprise readiness roadmap and an ethical AI governance and policy framework, because you have to manage workforce transition planning.
Post-labor economics. Because if AI does the heavy lifting, what happens to your human workforce?
Exactly. You need an ethical framework for that. And that ties directly into the board and executive AI fluency masterclasses. They do 3 bespoke masterclasses.
But they aren't teaching the CEO how to code in Python, right?
No, not at all. It's about tech literacy and confidence. It's about giving the board the confidence to govern the tech portfolio, ask the right ethical questions, and understand their liability.
So they aren't just blinded by vendor jargon.
Precisely. They need to interrogate the AI strategy just like a financial audit.
Okay, so we have a great strategy, aligned teams, and AI governance. But transformations often fail when the initial energy fades. Like 6 months in, the daily grind takes over.
Which brings us to phase 4, sustaining momentum, the thought partnership.
And they do this through the virtual residency model. It's a 6-month retainer for ongoing access to a dedicated TSLA ally. And I want to note that word choice, ally, not consultant.
It's intentional. It shifts the dynamic from a transactional vendor who just hands you a report and leaves to an invested partner.
An ally who knows the context, knows the stakeholders, and actually remembers the goals from phase 1.
Right. It's an external, independent voice holding leadership accountable over the long haul. Plus, they offer 20-hour blocks of ad hoc advisory for flexible, critical decision support.
Which is so necessary. Now let's talk about the investment, because we have some illustrative pricing here for a mid-sized organization. Let's say 1 CEO and 8 direct reports.
Right. Let's break that down.
Phase 1 is $24,000, phase 2 is $69,000, phase 3 is $33,000, and phase 4 is $24,000. So a total of $150,000.
Which, when you look at the caliber of clients in their portfolio, makes total sense. We're talking about guiding organizations like BMO, CIBC, Canadian Tire, Enbridge, and TD.
That really cements their credibility. And getting started seems incredibly frictionless. It's just a 4-step onboarding process, a discovery call, then a draft perspective, a feedback call, and finally, the proposal.
It's highly modular and designed to meet the executive exactly where their organization is at.
So to summarize this end-to-end journey for our listener, TSLA offers a modular integrated path from boardroom strategy to frontline execution, fully empowered by AI and sustained by genuine allyship.
It's a complete ecosystem for success.
It really is. Now, we like to leave you, the executive in the room, with a final provocative thought to mull over.
Think about this. If your organization's strategy were put through an AI stress test tomorrow, would your middle management be aligned enough to pivot in unison? Or would the machine expose a completely broken chain of command?
That is the ultimate question. If you're wondering about the answer, Reaching out for a zero-risk discovery call with TSLA is the best place to start. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.